Hey guys, how are we all doing? It's Rugby Ghost Hunters here, and today we are not doing an investigation in a church or a cemetery. We have actually been invited to a property because the tenant that's here has been experiencing a lot of paranormal activity. So we are in their house and they have kindly given us permission to do an investigation. Now, obviously, I will not be disclosing where it is, who the person is, nothing like that whatsoever. But yeah, so we're in a property that has got more than likely a residual haunting, because the person's house in question, there's a lot of taps, there's a lot of footsteps heard when the tenants here on their own. So obviously you can hear in the background because Paul is with me, and obviously he's picked up on the spirit, and we do know that it's the spirit of a woman, and everything. So let me just give you a spin round. So obviously I'm not disclosing the location, but a lot of the activity is associated, Richard's just setting up, a lot of the activity is associated in the bedroom. So this is where our main focal point will be. So without further ado, we will get cracking and get started. So we are here, and obviously Paul is with me because obviously he's the medium, and he's picked up on the spirit that's here. So without further ado, we will crack on and investigate this property and go from there. So let's get going. Right, so we're here and we are in the tenant's bedroom because this is where they have most of the activity. And obviously they will hear tapping like that, and footsteps up the stairs. So we're going to call out for the spirit of Mrs. Whitley and see if she comes through and go on from there. But I did get some good responses when I was here, when I popped in to see the person in question who's house in, and already look, the K2's going off. Right, okay. Mrs. Whitley, thank you for that. Can you just do that again for me? Thank you. My name is Joanne. Do you remember me from the other day? Do you remember me from the other day that I spoke to you? I brought my friend here with me, and he's a medium and he can communicate with you. If you're happy for him to do that, can you just make those lights go off for me again? Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Whitley. Right, so Paul's going to now do everything, but the K2's slightly...
Okay, we're going to use this recorder here, so we're going to be quiet for about 10-15 minutes. So we're going to do some calling out to her and see if we can get any response on it. So I'm just going to press it on now, guys. Hold on, bear with me. Mrs. Whitley, with that device I've just put onto the dressing table, if you'd like to speak, you can by all means. It won't harm you at all. Mrs. Whitley, did you live in this house or down the road from this house? Could you let us know by flashing them lights?
Mrs. Whitley, would you be so kind just to make those lights go off and speak into that little device here? Would you communicate with us, please? Mrs. Whitley, Mrs. Whitley, could you just make those lights go off if you know why we're here? We've been asked by the person that lives here that they'd like to get to know you more, and they just want to know why you're here. Did you used to live in this house? Pop it near the mic. No.
I can download that.
Mrs. Whitley, with that device I've just put onto the dressing table, if you'd like to speak, you can by all means, it won't harm you at all. Mrs. Whitley, did you live in this house or down the road from this house? Could you let us know by flashing them lights?
Was that tapping then?
It sounded like tapping.
Mrs. Whitley, would you be so kind just to make those lights go off and speak into that little device here? Would you communicate with us, please?
That's tapping.
Yeah.
That's just like a little
And also shuffling.
shuffling, yeah. Shuffling. Mrs. Whitley, I know you like to be spoken to, but would you rather speak to us than us trying to speak to you? Can you make those lights go off for me? I know it's a big ask, but would you be able just to flash those lights for me to let us know that you're still here? We don't mean you any harm, and the person in question would like you to stay here. They're happy for you to be here. And are you happy to be here? Do you like being here? Are you protecting the person in question who lives in this house? If you are, can you just make those lights go off for me, please? That's all I'm asking you to do. Mrs. Whitley, please understand we're not here to upset you.
Okay guys, I'm going to try to do it talking with that. Mrs. Whitley, with this device in my hand, you are free to come and talk to us at any time. You can use my energy at any point you like. First off, are you happy with us being here? Could you give us a sign? Could you tap on something? Or could you speak through this?
If I tap, maybe you could tap back. Could you make those lights go off for me, please, Mrs. Whitley?
She's down here somewhere. I'm getting the feeling she's watching us. Mrs. Whitley, are you around just at this present moment?
Impaled.
I don't know what that means.
No,
Impaled, that's like you were stabbed or something.
yeah.
You were impaled on something. Mrs. Whitley, did something happen to you? Do you remember me?
I'm getting a vision of what she looked like.
You describe her and I'll see if I got the same vision when I came here the first time.
She's an oldish lady.
Not friendly.
No, we are friendly. We're here because we want you to be friendly with us. We're only here because we've been invited in by the owner of this property who'd like to know what you're doing here. They're happy for you to stay here and we're happy for you to stay here, but they would like to know why you're here. Was this your house? And were you associated with the school? Mrs. Whitley, please.
I'm getting a vision of an oldish lady. I would describe say that you would say she doesn't look friendly, but she is friendly. But very stern looking.
And when I came here, what did I say that she looked like? She was very, like a very stern lady.
She's got glasses, but they're on the end of her
They're on
nose.
the end of the nose, yeah. Very like school teachery kind of.
Skull.
Yeah. I'm picking up on two versions of her. One when she was youngish, definitely like a school teacher, bun in the on the head, there with the hair.
And what did I say to Richard when I first came in this property? I had a vision of her, and the way Paul described her is exactly how I described her. Mrs. Whitley, if you don't want us to be here and you want us to end this investigation, can you make those lights?
Joshua.
Right, I'm just going to nip down and see the Thursday Rose's house.
Bertram.
Because there's a few names that are coming through. So I'll leave you in Paul's hands and I'll just nip down.
Battery.
Don't drain the batteries, please. Use my energy if you have to. I know you're here. I can feel your presence, Mrs. Whitley. She's circling around. Mrs. Whitley, if you want to use my energy, come even further and closer. Touch my arms if you need to.
All is well.
Mrs. Whitley, I know you're now standing in front of me. As I said, I've come here as a friend, not an enemy. You're still allowed to use my energy if you need to. Are you still happy with being here, Mrs. Whitley? Please let us know. Mrs. Whitley, did you touch the
Medicine.
medicine? Did you touch the bathroom plug last night? Did you move it? And can you explain what you mean by medicine? He's still standing in front of me. She's going, sorry, this way.
Can you describe her?
Oh, she's very stern.
What she looks like, how she's dressed?
She's dressed like in the sort of old-fashioned sort of school teaching wear. Oh, she's waving a finger at me now. Is that because I'm talking about you, Mrs. Whitley?
Forgive my sins.
You'll always be forgiven. She's like, oh, long dress, you know, how they used to dress. Oh, and she's pointing at the cane. She might have been quite handy with the cane.
And is this why you're getting the tapping? Because you know how like the teachers used to do with the board, you know, A, B, C, D, that sort of thing. So you're right.
I worked here.
Yeah. Oh. A pain in my neck. Mrs. Whitley, could you stand back a bit, please? You were very stern to all kids, but you were friendly at the same time.
Joe.
Yes, I'm here, Mrs. Whitley.
But she wants to rule. That's what she's about, the teacher.
Mrs. Whitley, you've just said my name. Are you familiar with me then? Please, Mrs. Whitley, can you just back off for a second, please? Can you just step back?
Planet.
Mrs. Whitley, can you set my lights off again for me, please? Even if it's just a little bleep. So we know that she's a school teacher. She knows that she's quite stern. Mrs. Whitley, are you happy to be here? Because we don't want you to leave. And the person who lives in this house is very happy for you to stay. Are you happy that the person's here looking after the house? And are you happy that they're here to do so?
I'm also getting a vision. I don't know if you quite remember. There's several of teachers lined up. She's one of them. And oh yeah, oh, that's got like this wrap gown, you know, like
So we're talking like Victorian era.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But they would have like the caps and the heads. And in the corner I can see
Tall.
I can see the cane, but I can also see Dunce's hat. And the blackboard wouldn't have been on the wall, it would have been like
On like
on
an
an
easel.
easel.
Yeah.
I'm getting a vision with that school over that way. Back when it was how it was then.
Mrs. Whitley, can you just set my lights off, please? I'd like you to do that for me. Please set my lights off. If you would be so kind. And please back away from my friend.
She's smiling at the moment and laughing. It's all that teeth, you know, back in the day they had that sort of way with them.
There's a cold spot here.
Yeah, I can feel that right by me here.
Yeah, she's in the middle. There's a cold spot here. Mrs. Whitley, are you standing between us? Oh, that's really cold.
Yeah, I
That
just
is
felt
really
something
cold.
to blow on my arm. Mrs. Whitley, if that was you, could you blow again?
Deliberate.
Are you not happy that we're talking about back in the day what happened? You weren't that nasty of a teacher. It was just the way you had to be then. Stern, but firm. And I respect that.
Mrs. Whitley, please understand that we're here and we do not mean you any harm whatsoever. We are not here to disrespect you. We are not here to try and remove you. We are basically here to give the person in question who lives in this house, they would like to know why are you here. But they're happy for you to be here. They've got no problem with you being here.
We know you're very friendly. It was just back in the day when you were a teacher, you had to have that sternness when you were the pupils.
It's alright, someone's just touched my back. I'm going to have to move in here because I'm getting touched on my back over in that corner. Oh.
Mrs. Whitley, if that was you, would you like to touch me
He
instead?
died.
He died. Who died, Mrs. Whitley? Is the schoolmaster around? Are you alright? Do you need to take a break? Or anything?
Right, no. I mean, that bit, he died. I mean, he could have been on about your husband. She would have been around by then, knowing that. But when you went downstairs, she was like around me here. So I just circling me. I think she wanted to slap me with something. Like I was a naughty pupil. But I felt a coldness quite a lot here.
Yeah, I did when I was just over there. Mrs. Whitley, can you just make those lights go off if you want us to leave you now? We will let you be.
It's been so nice to speak to you, Mrs. Whitley, but honestly, I'm not a naughty boy. Honestly. I know what the cane's like, I've had it in the past, and I know what the slipper's like as well.
Heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah. She's sort of fading away now from me. you remember those when they used to do the gowns and they used to be really, you know, stern.
Well, there's a picture that obviously I'd want the person who owns this house. I'm going to get them to show Paul a picture and just to see if that's who it is. That's Mrs. Whitley. And K2's just blue.
Yeah, I mean, we know that.
Pearl.
You know, like the college students wear the gowns and that.
Yeah,
But
the
back
graduation kind of thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this was back in the day when they used to wear it, and that's what I got. You know, like the board was in like the middle, it wasn't on the wall. And I think the threat was in the school. They had the dunces hat and obviously the cane. And we know that the head of the school would use the cane, but obviously the teacher had the permission as well to wrap their knuckles.
Mrs. Whitley, can you just set those lights off if you're still here? Please, just a small bleep on them if you're here still, or if you... Unless she's probably gone. She's gone. Where would she have gone? Would she have gone?
I think what I'm getting the way she is, I think she wanders back and forth. And I think, don't take this wrong, honestly, I think that mirror there is the portal. That's what I'm getting. I think she's going that way and then coming back. And I think sometimes she will go that way, but she's more associated over that way. So yeah, I think that's the main portal there. Nothing to worry about. But that's where she went that way. So
Night whispers.
she's definitely gone back over that way. She's probably gone back to the school, you know, parading around the school, because that was her workplace. And this probably wasn't where she lived. She probably,
Going off now.
as you said, you know, back in the day there was no houses, but down the bottom, she probably walked down this way. And you imagine when some of the kids, we didn't have transport back then, they would have been walked up this way, and the teacher would have been meeting them. I did get a vision of some of the kids as well. They look like in shorts, and some of them, they had like little shirts on, little hats, some of them. And that was like the Victorian times, you know. So you also had the little girls as well with their little pinnies on and that. So it would have been, you know, really, you know, the old-fashioned way of walking to school, and the teachers would have been there, standing there waiting, not the parents. And they would have been coming up in a line to the school. And you imagine if you was that child and you stepped out of line and that teacher could see from a distance, and you'd probably get your butt kicked. Basically, that's how the bottom line is. Because that's how the teachers were acting back then. You had to do as you're told. But yeah, I think, yeah, that's where the portal is. That's where she's going back and forth. And I think she would have stood around this area, this ground, with some of the other teachers, waiting for Raymond. But there's definitely nothing negative here at all. It's all positive.
I wonder if she's telling us the pupils' names.
Yeah, she could have done, yeah. Well, I'm so glad I wasn't brought up in that era.
I think a lot of us were, to be honest.
Yeah, we look at,
Do you hear voices at night?
yeah, we look at how the nun schools were run. These were just like that, very stern, and you know, you knew your place.
Mrs. Whitley,
Don't disrespect us.
We're not here to disrespect you, I'll tell you that now.
no, we're not here to disrespect you whatsoever. We are here just to try and get clarification. And you're doing so well in communicating with us. But by all means, please do not.
The forest is home.
The forest is home. Well, we are. There is bushes and trees and
Yeah.
everything. Mrs. Whitley, please understand that while we're here, we are not here to disrespect you, and we are not here to harm you or cause you any problems. We want you to be safe, happy, and continue to watch over the person in question, whose house this is, and look after them. Will you look
Bodies
after?
below.
Bodies below.
Will you do that? Would you be so kind to protect the person that lives here? Are you looking after them? Are you watching over them? Can you make that device go off if that's what you're doing? Are you looking after them? Because they don't mind you being here, and we certainly don't want you to leave. Mrs. Whitley, or any of the spirits, can you make those lights go off if you want us to leave you alone now?
It's been so nice to get to know you, Mrs. Whitley.
Can you just make those lights go off one more time for me, please?
Hi.
Hi.
I promise you
Okay,
I'll be a good student from now on. How's that?
So, what have we done so far? We found out that there's a schoolmistress here, teacher here. Obviously she's happy to be here, and the tenant is happy for her to be here. She's not negative anyway, she's just obviously residual, walking backwards and forwards, just making sure everything's okay. But we'll wrap
I
it
was
up.
70.
I was 70.
That could have been amazing because I said you're getting old.
Is that how old you were? Is that how old you were when you crossed over?
Well, God bless you. Thank you for letting us know that.
Right, yeah, what I'll do, because obviously I don't want to aggravate spirit anymore. The temperature has gone off. What was that now? We're at 19.8, so the temperature's dropped a bit. Temperature's dropped down a bit. Okay, Mrs. Whitley, we're going to leave you now. Thank you for communicating with us. But please stay and look after the client, won't you? The tenant, not client. The tenant.
Nice to speak to get to know you, Mrs. Whitley.
Can you just make those lights go off one more time for me, please?
Hi.
Hi.
I promise you
Okay, gone off.
I'll be a good student from now on. How's that?
So, what have we done so? Please look after them and watch over them.
Fail and sweep.
We've gone down to 19.8 now, so the temperature's dropping. The temperature is going down. And it's going down towards about 19.6. 19.9 now. She's definitely around this area though.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. No, she's obviously. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to end it here. But obviously, and we're going to give the person who owns this qualification, we're just going to explain our findings and everything. So, yeah, we'll end it there. So it's been a brilliant investigation. Thank you to the person that came into your house. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll leave it there. So from Rugby Ghost Hunters, it's goodbye from Paul.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye from me, and goodbye from